They've been watching you, not because you're a threat right now, but because you've forgotten the danger you once carried. Can you hear it? That subtle but undeniable rhythm of your heartbeat picking up pace? Something deep inside your carefully programmed mind has just awakened. Something long buried has remembered what it feels like to be alive. You spent so much time believing you were invisible, drifting through your own life like a ghost, apologizing for simply existing, for breathing air you thought didn't belong to you. But here's the twisted and beautiful truth they don't want you to know. You were never invisible. You were classified. Every sleepless night when your thoughts raced with ideas too sharp and dangerous to ever be spoken, that was classified. Every time you bit your tongue when you had the power to destroy with words, classified. Every smile you wore while your soul screamed for revolution, classified. They have files on you, thick ones filled with pages documenting the version of yourself you buried alive. The one who dreamed of conquest instead of compromise, who calculated instead of surrendered, who would have set the whole world on fire just to watch the flames reflect in their eyes. That version of you is the one they're after. While you've been busy shaping yourself into something acceptable, your shadow has been quietly working. It has been taking notes, gathering intelligence, collecting data from every betrayal you swallowed, every insult you endured, every dream you sacrificed to keep others comfortable. And now they want access to that archive, because your shadow knows things. It can see a fake smile before it's even fully formed. It can predict betrayal 3 moves ahead before anyone even realizes they're making the first. It knows the words that could shatter someone's entire reality, and it whispers them to you in the silence of 3 a.m. when you stare at the ceiling wondering why you feel so hollow. But you dismissed it, didn't you? You labeled it negativity. You tried to meditate it away. You buried it under affirmations until you turned your greatest weapon into your greatest shame. And that, tragically, beautifully, is why they're recruiting you. Not because you're special, but because you're dangerous. More dangerous than you've ever allowed yourself to realize. Your therapist told you to make peace with your darkness. Society told you to suppress it. Your mother told you to be nice. But an agency like the CIA, they would tell you to weaponize it. Because while most people play house with their conscious mind, you hold the keys to the basement. And in that basement, inside that beautiful, chaotic underworld of your psyche, lives someone they can't control, someone they can't predict. Someone who remembers the raw, untamed power of what it feels like to be free. So tell me, are you truly ready to meet your handler, or will you keep hiding behind the shallow lies you tell at dinner parties? You've been trained to believe the most interesting thing about you is the mask you wear, but deep down, you know that's a performance. Your therapist told you to make peace with your demons. The CIA, they would tell you to weaponize them. The irony is almost poetic. You've spent months, maybe years, sitting in that comfortable chair across from someone with kind eyes, framed diplomas, and a naive belief in human goodness. They've listened to your anger issues, your trust problems, your habit of overthinking, and with the best intentions, they've called them flaws. But what if I told you they had it backwards? What if every single thing they've been trying to fix was never broken at all, but rather your arsenal? That anger they want you to manage, that isn't dysfunction, it's fuel. High octane, unfiltered, unstoppable fuel. Every disrespect, every dismissal, every time someone treated you like you were invisible furniture, your shadow was taking notes, building pressure, turning humiliation into power. While they had you practicing breathing exercises, your rage was quietly sharpening into strategy. That paranoia they want medicated, those trust issues they told you to overcome, that's intelligence gathering at its finest. Your shadow learned to read the twitch of a lip, the hesitation in a word, the faint stench of betrayal before anyone else could see it coming. And you thought that was a disorder? No, that's a superpower. And then there's that brilliant, twisted mind of yours, the one that won't stop running scenarios. The one that calculates 17 outcomes before most people even notice there's a problem. They call it anxiety. I call it tactical superiority. While the rest of the world wanders blindly with their rose-colored glasses and their "everything happens for a reason" slogans, you've been developing psychological warfare skills that trained operatives would envy. You know how to vanish into a crowd without a trace. You know how to smile while silently planning someone's collapse. You know how to feed people the exact words they want to hear while your true thoughts remain locked in that classified vault inside your skull. These aren't flaws. These are weapons. But society, oh, society needed you weak. They needed you compliant, apologetic, harmless. They needed you pouring your energy into self-improvement workshops instead of building empires. So they convinced you that your sharpest edges were shameful. They took your ruthless logic and labeled it coldness. They twisted your ability to see through masks into cynicism. They called your refusal to be fooled trust issues. And you believed them. You've been declawing yourself for their comfort, defanging yourself for their safety, dimming your light so they could sleep peacefully at night. But your shadow hasn't forgotten. It has kept meticulous records of every compromise. Every time you bit your tongue instead of striking, every time you chose peace when victory was within your grasp. And now, it's time for a status report. Here's what's in your file. Psychological profile, highly dangerous when activated. Currently operating at a mere 12% capacity thanks to social conditioning and therapeutic suppression. Possesses advanced emotional intelligence, pattern recognition, and strategic thinking capabilities. Warning: subject becomes exponentially more dangerous once they stop caring about being nice. So the real question isn't whether you're ready for recruitment. The question is, are they ready for what happens when you finally remember who you really are? The moment you stop apologizing for taking up space is the moment you become a threat to every system built to keep you small. Listen carefully now, Agent. Yes, that's what you are. It's time we discuss why your activation is necessary, why every institution you've ever trusted has been working overtime to keep you sedated, compliant, and manageable. This is classified, so sit down and listen closely. Society runs on one simple principle: keep the wolves convinced they are sheep. And you've been one hell of a wolf grazing among them, pretending to belong. But here's the truth they don't want you to uncover. Every lecture on gratitude, every count your blessings sermon, every compliance program, every speech about being content, it's all sedation. Because deep down, they know what happens when someone like you stops asking for permission and starts taking what's theirs. The economic system requires your obedience. It depends on you believing you deserve exactly what you have. No more, no less. Because if you ever realized your true market value, if you ever understood the leverage your mind carries, if you ever stopped accepting scraps and started demanding a feast, the entire structure would collapse. The social hierarchy? It thrives only when you stay in your lane, respect imaginary betters, and believe that confidence is arrogance, that ambition is greed. They already know what happens when someone with your psychological profile breaks those rules. Revolution. Not with guns, not with chaos in the streets, but something far more dangerous. Psychological revolution. You, Agent, carry what they can't manufacture and can't contain. You have the ability to think independently, to see patterns they've spent decades trying to bury, to question narratives they've poured billions into protecting. Your shadow has been quietly building the case against them all along. It recorded every time they told you to be realistic when you dreamed too big. Every time they justified corruption by saying, "That's just how it works." Every time they made you feel guilty for wanting more. Your shadow documented it all. And now you're beginning to see why they needed you so small. Because people like you don't just transform their own lives when they awaken. They trigger a chain reaction. One awakened wolf doesn't just leave the flock, it shows every other sheep they were wolves too. That's why your recruitment isn't optional. It's essential. Not only for your own liberation, but for the systematic disruption of every structure that thrives on your submission. Your boss, who underpays you, depends on you believing you're lucky to have a job. Your government, which drains you with taxes, needs you convinced that you owe them your labor. Your society, which defines your worth by conformity, wants you aspiring to be normal. But you with that classified psychological profile, you're about to break abnormal wide open. And that terrifies them. Because when you stop apologizing for existing, you don't just take up space. You expand until you dominate the entire room. When you stop being grateful for crumbs, you demand the feast. When you stop playing small, you reveal how massive your impact truly is. And that, agent, is why you're needed. Not because you're special, but because you're dangerous. And the most dangerous thing about you right now is this. You're finally ready to remember just how dangerous you actually are. That memory, the one you buried under layers of politeness, social training, and endless apologies, is resurfacing. And once it does, there's no going back. The mission parameters are simple but not easy. Stop being manageable. Stop being predictable. Stop being small. You've been conditioned to shrink, to dim, to make yourself acceptable. But the activation process requires the opposite. It requires the execution of everything false, fragile, and fabricated about you. Are you ready for activation? Then here's your first assignment. Kill who you were yesterday. Not metaphorically, literally execute that version of yourself. You thought this would be comfortable, didn't you? You thought we were going to sit here and talk about change, sprinkle in some affirmations for the mirror, maybe boost your self-esteem with a few feel-good mantras. Wrong. This isn't therapy. This isn't comfort. This is an assassination. And the target is you. Not the real you, but the counterfeit version you've been dragging around like a corpse in disguise. Look in the mirror, agent. Look closely. That's not your face. That's your mask. That carefully arranged smile that begs, "Please like me." Those eyes that apologize before your mouth even opens. That posture that whispers, "I'm harmless, I promise." That's not you. That's the enemy. That's the version of you that's been infiltrating your own life. The one who asks permission to exist, who says sorry for having opinions, who shrinks every time a voice is raised, who chooses peace over victory, surrender over power every single time. That version has to die. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Now. Because here's the truth about transformation that no one tells you. It is an addition. You don't layer confidence on top of weakness. You don't sprinkle self-esteem over self-doubt like sugar over poison. You don't blend the old with the new. Real transformation is replacement. Brutal, total, ruthless. The person who steps into tomorrow cannot coexist with the person who lived through today. One of them has to go. And since you're here, since you're listening, since something inside you is screaming for liberation, we both know which one you've already chosen to eliminate. So let's get surgical. That part of you that craves approval, terminated. That part that trembles at confrontation, eliminated. That part that would rather be liked than respected, executed. Every time you said yes when your soul was begging for no, dead. Every time you smiled politely while someone disrespected you, gone. Every time you handed over your power just to protect someone else's comfort, erased from the record. That's the procedure. That's the purge. And if you're wondering why you felt so empty, so hollow, the answer is simple. You've been living as the ghost of yourself. You've been walking this earth as a sanitized, socially acceptable, neutered version of your own power. A shell, a shadow of what you could be. But the real shadow, the one they tried to bury, the one they told you to fear, it has never left. It has been waiting, watching, planning. It remembers who you were before they tamed you, before they put you on a leash, before they convinced you that your teeth were for smiling instead of biting. That shadow hasn't gone dormant, it's been plotting a hostile takeover. And now, the time has come. This is what elimination looks like. Not self-help, not self-improvement. A hostile execution of every false version of yourself, so the true, untamed, ungovernable you can finally rise. Tomorrow morning when the sun rises, the person you used to be will not rise with it. That timid version of you, the one who worried endlessly about what others thought. The one who built their entire existence around the fragile approval of people who were barely worthy of your attention. That version stays buried in yesterday. That version that apologized for wanting more, for dreaming too boldly, for daring to expand. That version has already been classified as terminated, executed, erased from the record. Why? Because the mission parameters have shifted, Agent. We are no longer in the business of patching wounds with affirmations or massaging insecurities with soft therapy. We are not here to coat weakness in polite words and call it progress. This is not healing, this is war. And war demands elimination. Understand this clearly. We are not rehabilitating your old self. We are not polishing up a mask and pretending it's skin. We are conducting a full-scale surgical strike on the false identity you've been wearing for so long that you forgot it wasn't even you. And when the dust settles, when the smoke of this internal battlefield clears, the reflection staring back at you in the mirror will not resemble the person you used to know. They will not ask for permission. They will not apologize for existing. They will not shrink or soften themselves to make others feel comfortable. They will not bow to anyone's comfort zone. They will simply smile. And this time, not the fake smile, not the please like me smile, not the don't hurt me smile. This will be a smile of remembrance. A smile that says, I know exactly who I am now, and nothing can stop me. So I ask you, Agent, are you prepared to pull the trigger on the version of yourself that never truly lived? Because this isn't theory. This isn't metaphor. This isn't a warm, cozy conversation about self-love. This is execution. Once the trigger is pulled, there is no return. There is no crawling back into the comfortable grave of mediocrity. There is no retreat into the safety of being small, manageable, predictable. The old you dies today. And tomorrow the real you, the one who has been waiting, watching, sharpening, activates. While the world continues studying how to appear light, how to shine just enough to be noticed, you'll be studying how to become inevitable. And inevitability does not ask, it does not wait, it does not beg, it consumes. Now let's enter the phase they never wanted you to reach. The elimination is complete. The old you is dead. Good. Now let's talk about what the new you can do. Most people, the predictable herd, spend their entire lives in a performance. They beg to be liked. They memorize charm like it's a textbook. They rehearse their smiles in bathroom mirrors until their faces hurt. They study tone, inflection, timing, practicing the art of being digestible. They laugh at jokes that rot their souls. They nod along with opinions that make them sick. They perfect the science of becoming invisible while pretending to stand out. Their lives are one long audition for approval. And the tragedy? They think that's strength, but you're no longer most people. You've stepped out of that pathetic cycle. You've stopped auditioning. You've stopped begging for applause. You've stopped trying to earn permission to be yourself. You're not playing their game anymore, and you're certainly not bound by their flimsy rules. While they waste their time trying to win hearts, you will be commanding minds. While they invest energy into being liked, you will be learning how to be obeyed. There's a difference between manipulation and influence, and you're about to embody it. Manipulation is the tool of the weak. It's what desperate people do when they lack the courage for confrontation. It's sneaky, it's flimsy, it's dishonest, it's the art of tricking people into temporary compliance. But influence, real influence, that's an entirely different arena. Influence does not plead. It does not sneak. It does not need gimmicks. Influence is what happens when your very presence bends the air in a room. It's what happens when resistance itself feels like wasted energy. Influence is when people find themselves agreeing with you before they've even processed why. It is when your words cut so deeply through the noise that no alternative seems reasonable. It is when your energy alone makes compliance feel like the only logical option. And that, agent, is where you're heading. That is the mission. To become so inevitable, so undeniable, so unapologetically yourself that the world no longer knows how to resist you. To become so dangerous that every structure that once thrived on your compliance begins to crumble in your wake. To embody such ruthless authenticity that the systems built to keep you small start to collapse under the sheer pressure of your presence. This is no longer about being liked. This is no longer about being accepted. This is about becoming unstoppable, and unstoppable is exactly what you're about to be. Let me show you exactly how this works. Your shadow isn't some vague idea, some poetic metaphor. It's an intelligence network that has been quietly recording every detail of human behavior for years, storing patterns like classified files, analyzing motives like a surveillance algorithm. It has studied people while you smiled politely, while you played small, while you convinced yourself you were just being nice. But the shadow was never asleep. It was watching. It was cataloging. It was building a psychological dossier on everyone around you. Their fears, their insecurities, their blind spots, their secret cravings, their hidden weaknesses. Now, agent, it's time to activate that intelligence. Think of the coworker who constantly interrupts you in meetings. You've told yourself it's just their personality, that maybe they're confident, that maybe you should learn to accept it. Wrong. Your shadow already knows the truth. They don't interrupt you because they're powerful. They interrupt you because they're terrified of being invisible. It's not confidence, it's panic. And panic is exploitable. Terrified people are the easiest to direct. Here's what you do. The next time they cut you off, you don't scowl, you don't stammer, you don't argue. Instead, you stop. You let silence fill the air until the discomfort becomes unbearable for everyone listening. Then you turn to them and calmly say, "I'm sorry. Did you have something vital to add, or should I continue?" And just like that, the hierarchy shifts. Everyone in the room feels it. They crumble, not because you were loud, but because you were composed. You held the silence like a weapon, and silence is often louder than noise. This, agent, is not manipulation. It is not deception. It is not you pretending to be someone you're not. This is psychological positioning, placing yourself so firmly in your rightful power that others naturally adjust around you. And here's where it gets more dangerous. Most people live their entire lives trying to be predictable. They believe predictability equals trust. They think if people can anticipate their next move, it will make them safe. But predictable people don't get remembered. Predictable people don't get respected. Predictable people fade into the background and die unnoticed. Unpredictable people, however, those are the ones who reshape entire dynamics. They are remembered. They are respected. They are feared. Your shadow already understands this. It knows chaos theory by instinct. It knows that the smallest unexpected change in your behavior can send shockwaves through someone else's psychology. A pause where people expect words. A smile where they expect anger. Silence where they expect an excuse. A calm question where they expected an explosion. These small disruptions are nuclear bombs in human interactions. They force people to rethink who you are, to reassess how to deal with you, to reposition themselves around you. That's not just power. That's strategy. Think about that colleague who keeps taking credit for your work. The old you would have seethed silently, maybe complained to HR, maybe sent a carefully worded email that no one would remember. The operational you, however, handles it differently. When they do it again, you don't blow up. You don't beg for recognition. You wait. You let them finish. And then calmly you say, "That's interesting." My experience of working on that project was very different. Then you stop talking. You let the silence expand. You let them scramble. You let them dig their own grave with their frantic explanations, while the room begins to doubt their story. You don't defeat them, they defeat themselves. That's the secret of true influence. The most devastating blows are self-inflicted, and all you have to do is position yourself to let it happen. This is where you become dangerous. Because while most people react like programmed animals, push them, they push back, yell at them, they yell louder, insult them, they defend themselves, you won't. Reaction is predictable. Reaction is manageable. Reaction is weakness. But you, agent, are being trained to respond instead, to choose, to hold your fire until the exact moment it matters, to strike when it serves your mission, not when your emotions are provoked. That manipulative ex who still tries to bait you into their web of drama. The old you would have engaged, argued, tried to prove yourself. The operational you don't get angry. You don't defend. You simply become unavailable. No access, no energy, no battlefield. They can't fight what they can't reach. They wither because their game requires a participant, and you've walked off the board. That is the difference between being defensive and being inevitable. The old you fought battles on other people's terms. The operational you only fight battles you've already won. You don't waste ammunition. You don't waste energy. You don't waste yourself. And soon the world starts to notice. They begin whispering, "There's something different about you. I can't quite read you anymore. You make me uneasy." And that, agent, is not a problem. That is the point. Nervous people don't underestimate you. Nervous people don't dismiss you. Nervous people don't forget you. Nervous people calculate twice before crossing you. That is respect. That is fear, disguised as fascination. And that is power. Welcome to the dark arts, agent. Class is no longer theory, it is practice. This is where the shallow end ends and the deep waters begin. And understand this: morality is a luxury of the safe, the sheltered, the comfortable. Those who must win cannot always afford it. Most people turn back here unsettled by the reality of what power actually looks like when it's stripped of illusions. But you're not turning back. You've come too far. You've already pulled the trigger on the old you. You've already chosen the path of inevitability. This is psychological warfare, agent. This is your initiation. And from this point forward, nothing about you will ever be predictable again. This is the point where most people turn back. This is where they shift uncomfortably in their seats, where their hands fidget and their voices tremble as they whisper, "I'm not comfortable with this." This is where they retreat into their neat little moral boxes, where they cling to the illusion that being good is more important than being effective. They convince themselves that righteousness is its own reward, that virtue alone is enough to change the world. And then they go back to sleep. But you're still here, still listening, still hungry. Good. Because now we need to step into territory that Sunday school never dared to mention. We need to confront truths that therapy sessions carefully avoid. We need to examine what every truly powerful person has always known but would never dare to admit out loud. The world is not divided into good people and bad people. That's a fairy tale for children. The world is divided into effective people and ineffective people. That's it. And morality. Oh, that beautiful, comfortable concept. It's the lullaby that helps the masses sleep at night. It's a control mechanism, a leash disguised as virtue, a set of invisible chains designed to keep dangerous people like you manageable. Let me ask you something, agent. When your boss steals your idea, presents it as their own, and gets promoted off your work, do you think they're concerned with being good? When politicians craft entire campaigns on lies, manipulations, and empty promises, do you think they pause at night, racked with guilt over moral purity? When corporations bulldoze communities, poison rivers, and hollow out entire towns in the pursuit of profit, do you think they lose sleep over the suffering left behind? Number? Of course not. They understand something you're only beginning to awaken to. Results don't care about intentions. The universe does not hand out trophies to good people. It doesn't care how kind you are, how gentle your spirit is, or how many apologies you offered. The universe rewards the effective. Nature itself is proof of this. Gravity doesn't pause for saints. Evolution doesn't consult ethics. Lions don't hold moral debates before they hunt. The storm doesn't stop to ask if you've been kind this year before it floods your home. Morality is not a law of existence. It is a human invention, and it was invented for one reason: to keep people like you from realizing your potential, to keep wolves believing they should behave like sheep. Your shadow has never played that game. It has always operated outside of good and evil. It doesn't judge. It doesn't moralize. It calculates. It asks, what works? What doesn't? What gets results? What moves me closer to my objective? That is level 7 consciousness. At level 1, consciousness is naive. When someone betrays you, it says, how could they? I thought they were good. When someone lies to you, it says, I'm hurt. I didn't deserve that. When someone tries to destroy you, it pleads, this isn't fair. I want justice. But at level 7, everything changes. When someone betrays you, you don't collapse. You collect data. You ask, how can I use this? When someone lies to you, you don't weep. You take notes. You say, good, now I know what they're capable of. When someone tries to destroy you, you don't beg for fairness. You ask, how can this attempt benefit me? What advantage does this open up? Do you see the difference? Level 1 plays on a board built by someone else. Level 7 rewrites the rules of the game. You're not trapped in their morality anymore. You're not bound to their cartoon version of reality. Good guys and bad guys, heroes and villains, saints and sinners. That's for bedtime stories. The real world operates in shades of gray, and it is in that gray space, messy, chaotic, unregulated, that true power lives. Your shadow doesn't waste energy trying to decide whether something is right or wrong. That's a distraction. It only asks one question. Does this serve my purpose? That friend who only calls you when they need something? Most people moralize. That's wrong. They're using me. I should cut them off. Your shadow sees differently. It says, now I know what they're worth. They've revealed their currency. They've shown me their leverage point. That job that underpays you while demanding loyalty? Most people whine about fairness, about exploitation, about how it shouldn't be this way. Your shadow, however, calculates. It says, good. Now I know the truth. This isn't loyalty. It's leverage. How can I use this imbalance? How can I trade their greed for my gain? That relationship that drains your energy while giving nothing in return. Most people stay paralyzed in guilt, terrified of being selfish if they walk away. Your shadow does the math. It performs a cost-benefit analysis. It asks, does this relationship serve or sabotage my mission? And when the numbers don't add up, it cuts ties with surgical precision. That agent is freedom. Not the shallow freedom they advertise on billboards, not the sugar-coated freedom of being a good person. This is true freedom. Freedom from the need to be perceived as moral. Freedom from the prison of other people's expectations. Freedom from the exhausting theater of ethical purity. And here's the part that terrifies them the most. Operating beyond good and evil does not make you a monster. That's the lie they tell to keep you tame. What it makes you is honest, brutally honest, refreshingly honest, dangerously honest. Because you're no longer pretending. You're no longer bending yourself into a role society approves of. You are seeing the world as it is, not as they told you it was. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. This is why most people retreat here. They can't stomach the truth. They need morality as their blanket, their excuse, their safety net. But you've crossed the threshold. You've stepped into the gray. And in the gray, power bends toward you. Because the moment you stop pretending your choices are driven by moral superiority, you can finally admit what has been driving you all along: power, control, victory, dominance. And there's nothing shameful about that. In fact, there's everything right about it. Every great leader in history knew this truth. Every successful entrepreneur, every revolutionary who reshaped the world. They all operated in the gray, where effectiveness mattered far more than approval. They just never admitted it out loud. But you don't need to lie to yourself anymore. You don't need to disguise your hunger behind virtue. You don't need to justify the fire inside you with excuses about purity. You want what you want. You take what you can. You do what is necessary. And you stop apologizing for being human. Welcome to Level 7, Agent. The view from this height is extraordinary, but understand this. Once you see the world from here, you can never return to the fairy tales of good and evil. You will only see results, what works and what doesn't. The question is, are you ready to live with that kind of clarity? That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the growth of my faith. Help me trust you even when physical evidence is lacking. Let me believe in your perpetual presence, knowing you will never harm me. I understand that your thoughts for me are thoughts of prosperity and not harm, to give me a good future. Thank you, gracious and eternal Father, for always listening to my voice. I offer up this prayer to you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provision. I am grateful for your presence in my life and the abundance you bring. If this video resonated with you, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your journey and how you are preparing for your own triumphant return. If you'd like to support our work, please consider contributing through Buy Me a Coffee. This helps us continually improve our content to offer you the best. The link to Buy Me a Coffee is in the description. No gift is too small. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your generosity helps spread God's word and brings hope to others. Don't stop here. Watch our next video for powerful revelations about the signs that reveal you are the chosen one. We've enjoyed following this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Keep shining brightly and embrace your destiny with courage. See you next time. Blessings to all the beautiful souls from the Enlighten Wisdom.